So good morning. Today I'm on another bright red machine, a slightly different one. We are taking a little test ride on the Yamaha Tracer 7. So as you can see, I'm on a Tracer 7 Redline. I'll just roll some quick video walk around as I left with the bike this morning from MBS Power Sports over in Chester, North Wales area. As you can see, it's a very good looking machine. Do like the look of this one. I mentioned on my Tracer 9 review, I actually think this is the better looking of the two bikes out of the Tracer 7 and Tracer 9. Very sleek looking machine, quite a narrow machine. Yeah, so we're out on the ride today. It's fairly chilly. It says 15 degrees on the screen. I can tell you it doesn't feel it. I started off about 7 degrees this morning, a little bit cloudy. It's starting to warm up though, which is nice. So yeah, hopefully get a good ride today. Headed into North Wales, so unfortunately I am going to pay the price for the few 20 limits. I've kind of done this review back to front, so I've already been down a stretch of a dual carriageway to get to where I am now. One thing I will say straight away, holding this bike at 20 miles an hour, it's not the most comfortable speed for it. It gets a bit lumpy. In second gear, it's not particularly happy. You can feel it. The engine's just sub 3,000 RPM, so it should be okay. But it's not particularly happy about it. This is just a normal street mode, not in sport mode or anything. So good pickup. Yeah, it's not a bad engine. This is a 697cc parallel twin, and I can tell you it has plenty of go in it. Now, first impressions of it is actually quite lumpy. As you're pulling away at slow speeds, as I left the centre this morning, it was quite a kind of chug 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 noise, which kind of reminded me of the old the B&W parallel twins that I'd test ridden before and didn't particularly like for that reason. A bit too chuggy, and not really in the same ballpark as something like the V-twin in the Multistrada, which just pulled a lot smoother. But once you're rolling along, this is a cracking little engine. So it's about 72 brake horsepower, I think. Around, yeah, similar kind of torque figure, 68 Nm of torque. So yeah, decent engine. It pulls happily at normal speeds. It doesn't like going too slowly, which we've just discovered in that 20 limit, so that's a bit of a surprise, but yeah, very impressive otherwise. So first impressions of this bike then, well, that chug was one thing I noticed straight away. The other thing I noticed was actually the position. I've got a 33-inch inside leg, and if you can see, if you look down, that tank position there, my leg is just uncomfortably pushed up against that where it splays out, which is a bit of a shame because otherwise there's plenty of space. The foot peg position's okay. My knee is quite bent back, which surprised me for the kind of bike. Nice to be past this van for these. Double white lines, not much I can do. So yeah, that was kind of a first impression of the bike. Is that's a bit of a surprise. And the other thing I felt straight away is actually how rock solid the seat is. So this is the Redline one. This is not the GT spec. It's a standard spec one. I'm sure the GT spec will have a cushier seat than this, but this thing is firm. So I'm about half an hour into the ride and I can already feel it being a little bit unforgiving, shall we say. So yeah, fifth gear flexibility is pretty good. And a bin lorry, fabulous. Yeah, really, really does pull very well indeed. No argument with the performance of this bike. Plenty enough power for everyday use. And in some ways it actually feels slightly more urgent than the triple. The triple was obviously smoother and it built more progressively. This does seem to have that little bit of explosive punch that which I think is one of the reasons I prefer twins. You just get that extra surge. So beautiful North Wales countryside around me as well, so not a bad place to come for a test ride. One of the reasons for coming back to MES Power Sports rather than going back in central Manchester, it's just nicer routes around to go and ride. So that's fifth gear, 40 miles an hour, and that is a little bit lumpy. That 3,000, just sub 3,000 RPM mark on this bike is just got a little bit of chug and vibe to it, and you see it starts making the mirror shake at that speed. So why the Tracer 7? Why am I on this bike? Well, I rode the Tracer 9 and I loved it, and then I rode the Multistrada V2 and I loved that, and there's different things about them that I enjoyed, but both of them are in the £15,000-16,000 category, more if you want to keep speccing things up on them, and that's very pricey for what I do. I wanted something that's capable of European touring, sitting on motorways all day happily, has enough power to be fun, and it has to be comfortable obviously, but not sure I can stomach the pricing of those bikes, although buying on a PCP is a temptation and it does make them more affordable. I'd prefer to kind of just be able to buy this thing outright and not have any ongoing payments. So then I started seeing some reviews popping up of the Tracer 7 and it all seemed very favourable. So in particular English biker Dan had a long-term unit and really seemed quite impressed with it, and I think most of the motoring journalists who rode it seemed very impressed with the bike and its capabilities. And I've missed my turning. Let's see if it reroutes us. Yeah, this bike has the potential to be a lot of fun. Pulls very nicely indeed. So yeah, why the Tracer 7? So yes, I love the Tracer 9. I thought it was a really nice bike. Enjoyed the triple engine performance, the handling on the 17-inch wheels. Really nice bike to ride. I liked the Multistrada V2. Loved the parallel twin engine. Loved the punchiness of that, and the kind of more upright, nimble position as well. So I've seen lots of positive reviews on the Tracer 7, and thought, do I need to spend £50,000 on a bike? Is the Tracer 7 a kind of a poor man's Multistrada V2, if for want of a better phrase? More power than the Himalayan, not as much as the Multistrada, but you still got that nice parallel twin. Well, parallel twin versus a V-twin. But you've got the 17-inch wheels of the Tracer, so it should be quite a nimble little machine at a much lower cost. So I think it's around an £8,000 bike, this one. Right, going to go back down to about 25 miles an hour. There we go, we're in a national speed limit now. So if I open that fourth gear, there's a bit of chug, but you're up to 60 very quickly indeed. So yeah, so I was sort of thinking, is this a poor man's Multistrada? Could this be a good balance of what the Yamaha offered and what the Multistrada offered in a package that's a little bit cheaper for me to stomach and does everything I want it to do? And the short answer is yes, it is. I mean, this bike would do everything I needed to do. It's got more power, it's more fun than the Himalayan in terms of that explosive engine. It is very nimble. You can feel that immediately as you get on the bike. Those 17-inch wheels do make it very nimble indeed. It's nice and light. I think it's around 200 kilos. And it's a very well controlled bike. The bars aren't as wide. The seat position, say, is good, but I struggle with the legs and the foot peg positions, and the seat's very hard. So ergonomically, it's not as strong as either of the other bikes. That is the first problem, because I've been looking at this as a motorway tourer, and I wouldn't want to spend hours and hours on this thing. So I'm already on it for about an hour now, and I wouldn't really want to be on it for a whole day. Now, I did this review a little bit back to front because I actually had to head off down a dual carriageway before, so I'm just going to cut in a section of dual carriageway now and give you my views on that. So that's just coming in now. Alright, so a little bit of nationals then. Go up to 70 miles an hour. The screen's in the high position. Where's the wind hitting me? Yeah, just go on the helmet. So it's very similar actually to what comes off my Himalayan. So not a big improvement in terms of dynamics on a dual carriageway or motorway. I guess the big difference there, one is we've got the cruise control, and just set that at 70 miles an hour there as a standard feature, and the other is that engine's just got a little bit more flexibility left. So at 70 pulls just a little bit better. Yeah, the 450 pulls absolutely fine, but there's definitely more go in this, as you'd expect, because it's a 70 plus brake horsepower versus 40, and a bit more torque as well. Well, a lot more torque in fact. I think we're talking about 68 Nm of torque versus about 40 Nm of torque on the Himalayan. So yeah, wind protection is about the same as I've got with that touring screen. There's no vibes through the foot pegs or the bars at 70 miles an hour. That's absolutely fine. If I roll on a bit, yeah, still the same. Very nice. So yeah, it's not uber comfortable and protected from the wind. There's plenty of wind blast around, say top of my helmet, shoulders. It's quite a narrow screen, but yeah, the ride's very compliant. The seat's very firm. I think I said that already, but yeah, on a dual carriageway you can feel that seat is firm. So these indicators, same as the Tracer 9 unit, I do like this whole control unit, very easy to use. You've got your quick flywheel to get in and out of menus. Obviously this one doesn't have the electronic screen, so that was one of the main things I used that for on the Tracer 9. But I do like these indicators, and one of the additional features you have with them, being a kind of directional push, is that a gentle push gives you just the 3 flashes, rather as you would have in a car when you're changing lanes. Single push, 3 flashes. I think that's a good thing. I mean, 3 flashes arguably isn't enough, but on an empty motorway like this, there's nothing currently behind me. Good practice is still I would indicate, and I can just do quick press. That's 3 flashes without fear of leaving it on. So that is quite good. I would say a bit of a delicate touch is required. I have a couple of times I've pushed it just a little bit too hard and it's clicked on fully, but I think that's it's quite a good development really. Yeah, overall not bad. So the screen's in its higher position at the moment, not easy to move on the fly to be honest, but if I move that down, if I'm honest, it doesn't change an awful lot. Yeah, that engine, dual carriageway speed, is nice and responsive. It's pretty refined when it's running at 4,000 RPM. There's not a lot of noise from it. Doesn't feel like it's screaming at all. I'd say quite laid back. In fact, 4,500 RPM, 70 miles an hour. But then plenty of punch, and it seems to pull quite smoothly when it's running at that speed, which is good because lower speeds and around town, actually it's quite a lumpy unit, as I've already mentioned. In terms of MPG, this bike's averaging 68.7, so very, very frugal little machine as well. And back into where we are now, so I had to kind of do that a little bit back to front. Hadn't spent long on the bike once I headed down the dual carriageway, but it was perfectly fine. So good punch, but just same issue exists. Just that comfort is the problem for long distance travel. Still got a mode button, so we've got street, sport, custom. As I guess you'll be able to set up all the various factors. We'll leave it in sport for a little while now, shall we? See what happens with that one. As you can see through there, you've got adjustability on the suspension. And yeah, I mean overall, it's a very pleasant place to be. Comes with the handguards, the standards. The screen is movable up and down. Can be done on the fly. Not the easiest system. The display is plenty clear. There's about 4 different configuration options. You can have different. Disgusting van, that one. Yeah, the display is very similar in configuration to the Tracer 9, but much smaller. And unfortunately, I don't think the speed's nice and clear, gear shift's nice and clear, everything you need is fine. Unfortunately, when you do indicate, it's nice and bright at the top there, top right, top left. So that's all good. Happy with that. I said, I think on a couple of others, I think 5 inches is the perfect size. For this one, I think it's a little bit small. I think it's got a lot of data going on. The rev counter's quite small, things like that. So it doesn't necessarily suit the layout. I'm not entirely sure that is 5 inches. It looks even more compact than that to me. So. But yeah, I mean, no real complaints. It's still a good display. You've got 12-volt charging behind there. These aren't adjustable levers, but they're okay. It's kind of similar to the Himalayan, to be honest. What's not similar to Himalayan is that handling. It is very nimble, this bike. You can feel it immediately get on. And it's well sprung. I mean, just like the Himalayan is, this thing really is got a nice suspension setup. Good morning, sheep. So yeah, overall quite impressive. Just a real shame about the comfort level. Now, as I say, I'm sure the GT will fix some of that. I'm sure it has a cushier seat. That's normally how things work. But I think you're then heading up to around £10,000, and it's adding things like panniers and other bits and pieces, which strictly speaking I don't need. I kind of strap bags to the back of the bike, and that's good enough for me. So. Now, moving on to these slightly more patchy surfaces, I do feel more through this. That could be a factor of the wheel sizes as much as the suspension. But yeah, definitely more lumps and bumps felt through this one than you felt on the Himalayan, the Tracer 9 or the Multistrada. But I would say it's plenty compliant enough. It's not bouncing me off the seat. There's no excessive knocks and shakes coming through at all. Quite refined. I never rode the old Tracer 7, so I have no form of comparison. But I believe obviously various things have been upgraded in this bike versus the old one. I'm not in love with the sounds. I mean, it's parallel twin versus V-twin obviously with the Multistrada, but even if you take the parallel twins that you get in the KTMs, the Husqvarnas, I think they have a better sound to them. Maybe that's partly the exhaust as well, I don't know. But I would take those over this one, I think. And obviously that Husqvarna, as much as the suspension wasn't as road focused as this one, the whole setup was a lot more comfortable in terms of the seat and plushness. So does £8,000 make this a better value bike than the Tracer 9 or the Multistrada? I'm not actually sure of the answer to that one. I think it's an alternative, but I'm not sure that places it in a stronger position. I think the others offer much better proposition for touring bikes. This I think is more of a commuter, weekend rider, occasional use bike. If I was getting on it every day, I think I would grow tired of this fairly quickly. And I think the reason for that is, as much as it's more power, better handling, arguably more fun than the Himalayans to ride, the reality of the situation is it doesn't have the character or the charm that the Himalayan has that makes me forgive its shortcomings. Is it a good value proposition versus the double that price for the Multistrada? And I think if you're looking at it that way, yes it is, but it's not anywhere near the same kind of machine. So I don't think I could really fairly compare those two. But then kind of what is this up against? It's up against the smaller capacity parallel twins. And arguably the 790 Adventure would be comparable to this. What else? I suppose the Triumph Tiger Sports, the 660, would be in the same kind of ballpark as this, and I would take this over the Triumph 660 without hesitation. I just think the suspension's far better for me, and I prefer that twin to the triple in that bike. It's a bit more torque on offer. Well, certainly feels it. But I'm forgetting what I was saying, but £8,000 is still a lot of money. And then you're into there's some Hondas, there's the Transalp, there's a lot of other bikes in this category that were arguably stronger than this one. And don't forget, then there's all the Chinese bikes. If value is the focus, yeah, it's not a bad engine note. It's just a little bit on the flat side, I think. Just more functional than purposeful. Just a little bit on the lumpy side. The other thing I find, the cruise control can't do 20 miles an hour. So this doesn't have a quick shifter or anything like that, but the gearbox is very nice to use. Clutch is light, gearbox is easy to use. I haven't tried any clutchless shift. Yeah, it sticks into place quite nicely. Zero complaints with that on that front. Brakes feel good. We'll do a test in a minute. It's been too busy so far, but the normal riding brakes are unremarkable, I think is probably the best way to put it. They do their job very, very nicely. Don't blow me away, but equally don't cause me any concern. Yeah, he does handle very nicely. It's just that is his most redeeming feature, I think. So if I stick at 30 miles an hour in third gear, there is actually a little bit of buzz coming through, but then nothing unpleasant. Right, let's go. I think the peak power in this is somewhere around 7,000-8,000 RPM. It's not a particularly high revving engine either, but it has got plenty of punch in it. Yeah, as the revs pick up, 4,000 or 5,000 RPM. Yeah, it comes alive, this one. That's where its power is. I think I've got a flashing light at the top left. I'm guessing that's something to do with my gear shift indicating, telling me to change. But it handles, I mean, even these corners on fairly lumpy surfaces, it handles them very well. I say, my arse is already numb. I can't shift backwards because the pillion seat's quite high, can't lean forwards because it's an uncomfortable position to sit in, so it makes it difficult to shift your weight around to take the pressure off. So it definitely does need a better seat than the standard one. So if you are looking at this bike, look for the GT one, or at least change the seat. I believe that on the GT one you do get a taller screen, so there is a higher accessory screen, which might just do the trick, to be fair, because say it's around the top of my visor, so yeah, a little bit higher would push it over the top of my head, but it wouldn't remove the side, so there's no side protection on this one. There's a lot of wind blast on the side. Right, 60 miles an hour, there's nothing behind me. Yeah, you feel ABS cuts in. Let's try the back brake only. Well, that was both, sorry. Yeah, back brake's pretty strong actually. That's quite impressive. Front brake by itself is very good. I think possibly a factor of this bike's weight. It's not a particularly heavy beast. So yeah, it's a very good all-round bike. Pros and cons then. So, hour and a half or so on this bike. What do I think? What's my impressions of that time? Well, the positives. One is that handling. The handling is by far its standout feature. Really, really nimble little bike, and I think that paired with the good brakes could make it good fun. It's nicely balanced, as you can see as well. So, suspension's good as well, and it's a great looking bike. And that performance, the power, is just in the sweet spot for everyday use. Negatives: comfort, plain and simple. That seat is too hard for someone with long legs. The position isn't great. The wind protection isn't great either, so they're all under comfort. So would I buy this bike? Personally, I think no, it's not for me. Amazing compelling argument as a commuter, but actually one of the negative things I missed on this is that low speed riding, and actually that might be a little bit of an irritant trying to use this as a commuter bike. If it can't handle slower speeds and 20-mile-an-hour stretches without being a little bit lumpy, that could be a bit of a thorn in its side, really. So yeah, not sure on that one, but I guess there is that argument there as a commuter. I definitely have it as a motorway commuter. And actually what I do a lot of is motorway commuting, kind of short commutes for Warrington into Manchester, and for that this would be ideal. So yeah, personally I wouldn't have one, but I think it is still a very good bike, and I can see why people would choose it. So I'm now going to head off back down the dual carriageway, drop this bike back at MES Power Sports, and yeah, big thank you to them for letting me take the bike out today. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.